Hello everybody and welcome to the GMS magazine videos. You know, I have a massive love, unconditional love for dragons. I absolutely adore dragons. So today I'm going to be reviewing Simurgh, a game about dragons. Simurgh came out in 2015 or 14, I can't remember exactly, by a company that's very, very dear to me, NSKN Games, because I absolutely adore Andrea and Agnieszka. It's designed by Pierluca Zizzi, who is quite a veteran of some very, very good games. But the theme just won me over just like that. I just loved it. Why? Well, in this game, every player, and it is 2 to 5, it's going to be a member of a breeding family, a dragon breeding family, which for me, that's just like, imagine instead of breeding cows or sheep that you were breeding dragons. I mean, you would want to be a farmer in that world. I want to be a farmer in that world now, forevermore, and have dragons. That's wonderful. Anyway, you are going to be competing with the rest of the players to become the best breeding family in the land. And as such, Simurgh, which is, by the way, gamey for dragon, it means dragon. It's a worker placement and resource management game with a twist. Yes, essentially you're going to take your two different workers, and you're going to have lancers and dragons, and you're going to put them on the board, and depending where you put them, they're going to give you some resources or another, and then those resources you can exchange for goodies. Okay, it's another worker placement resource management game. That's it. But there's something going on here. But before I tell you any of that, production. Wow. Production is absolutely amazing, and I only have two very small caveats. One, when I was unsticking my game things and spraying them, the tokens got stuck, and I had to unstuck them and cut them off with a Stanley knife. The paper wasn't properly cut in some of the boards. It wasn't a big deal. I only damaged one token, so I am okay with it. But please be careful, because if you do it, in a rush, and I don't know if this was just my game or if it was the production, it could be the whole thing, I don't know, but be careful. This was also the first run of the game, so the second runs may not have that problem at all. The second little caveat is that the game comes with some player boards, with some places, some squares where you can put your resources that you've collected. Now, those squares are a little bit too small for all the resources, so you end up with a bit of a mess. Those boards are quite handy in some ways, because as well as to give you a summary of the turn order and the actions that you can take every turn, they help you, locate everything. Now, there are two ways of playing the game. Well, it's one easier and another one slightly more advanced. The main difference between the two ways of playing the game is that the easier one you can have up to 15 resources, and the more difficult one you can have, I think, is 14 resources. You have some less, considerably less resources. 12, I think it is. Don't worry, less, which makes it a lot more challenging, a lot. So it's a bit of a mess. You could have just got rid of that board and said, you can have in the advanced mode, you can have 15 things. So in the basic play mode, you can have 15 resources. In the other one, you can only have 12. Okay, whatever. Not an issue. Fine. And that would have been the end of it. So those are my only two caveats. But that is where my caveats end, because the rest of the game is absolutely glorious. The art direction is so beautiful. The illustrations are just to die for. And there's so many different types of dragons that are just gorgeous to look at, and I absolutely love them. The board is massive. You are going to need a big space to play this game, but it's so beautiful. The graphic design is all there. The cartography of the city is absolutely brilliant. All the signs are so well put together. It's just beautiful to look at. There are no cards in this game. Instead, they have decided to produce little boards. Where this game, it's also a board building game. You start with 3 little boards that you put on your playing board. They could have been cards, and it would have been a lot cheaper to produce this game that way. But NSKN went the whole way and said, no, we're gonna do this properly. So we end up with a bunch of like this, that tall, I kid you not, that tall little boards that are going to be delivered and spread around all the players. And these boards will really make the game quite different and unique. There are some empty spaces in the wilderness. You have your city, you have your farms, and then you have your wilderness. You have 2 different types of resources, your soldiers and your dragons. Soldiers can go in some places, dragons can go absolutely anywhere. And they are more precious, and therefore you can get more things out of them. In the farming, you can choose, well, I'm going to explore this area, and then you put in the wilderness. Why does it matter? Because in the city, everything that happens is pretty basic, and you can get just a few resources here and there, but not very many, and definitely not enough to win the game. Definitely not enough. But as you build a board in the wilderness, there is when you can start to get the proper resources. They do not make the city superfluous at all. You cannot possibly win or play this game without using both. But the wilderness is where the money actually is. Now there is a trick. When you build a board, those little boards are finite. So when you've used them 5 times, maybe 4 times, they have to get discarded. Once they are discarded, they are going to help trigger the end game. When anything between 8 and 11 of those little boards have been discarded, the game ends. And the only thing that's going to make a difference is the time you want to play. You want a shorter game? Play with 8. You want a longer game? Play with 11. You want a game that will last forever? Play with all of them. But it will last a very long time. The game plays between an hour, 90 minutes, depending on how slow or quick you want to play it. And it plays so goddamn beautifully. So beautifully. It took us about 10 minutes to actually get to grips with how it plays. The iconography is just correct. There isn't much room for interpretation. It's so nice and so well made. You can get new dragons and a variation of dragons, and you can breed different species of dragons, which is a good idea because there are some game goals that you can unfold and uncover for a number of victory points. And those game objectives will depend on how many dragons you actually get to breed. So the more dragons you breed, the better. But of course, if you're going to breed those dragons, then you're not going to be able to get resources for something else, which may give you more points. So it's a very fine balance, but also gives you quite a scope for the strategy you want to use in order to win the game. Some things will give you victory points, and at the end of the game, simple as the person who scored more victory points wins the game. That's it. Done. There isn't anything too complicated about this, but it just plays so nice. And because of the variation of all the boards, the player boards, you can keep playing this game time and time and time again and still have a great time. And there could be literally hundreds of expansions, which I hope will come, and the game will feel almost new again. Seriously, if you want a worker placement and resource management game with the unique twist that you have to build a board, and every time you play that board is going to be a little bit different, or a lot different, you just cannot go wrong with this. It's simple enough. I would introduce this game to my non-player friends quite easily, quite happily. It's a little bit more complex than things like Catan, not a great deal more, way more fun. seriously, if you like dragons, worker placement, resource management, you have to try Simurgh, and believe me, you will not regret it. It's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video. I do appreciate that very, very much indeed. Let me know if you've played the game and tell me what you thought about it. If you can, please give us a thumbs up. Every single one of those means an awful lot, so thank you for those. And if you can, please help us with our Patreon campaign so we can keep bringing you more and more videos like this, and many, many more that are coming in the near future. But above all, please share this video and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, and I'll talk to you very soon.